I wanna try something with this episode.
All right.
Because it's the GTR Part 2, and I think it's about time that another GTR gets a Part 2, and by that I mean get her done. Because GTR spells getter.
Okay.
So I think I'm gonna set a goal. Let's do a little tally.
Mm-hmm.
I think Nolan's gonna take care of most of the information part, and Joe and I are just here to mess with him. So Joe, I'm gonna challenge you and myself to say "get her done" 20 times in this episode.
Oh my God.
Not each, together, combined.
Okay.
Get her done, but only when it's appropriate. Like we can't force it in.
Squeeze
Yeah.
it in. Like,
Get her done.
there you go. Joe, would you like to practice your get her done?
Get her done.
Get her done. Little Larry the Cable Guy.
Yeah, he's still in the zeitgeist, right?
Yeah, I bet that guy's a friggin' bajillionaire.
Oh, yeah. 1,000,000%.
He doesn't have an accent. He's from Nebraska, and he
What?
doesn't have a real
Yeah.
accent.
Is that true?
Yeah.
He was an actor.
What a genius.
Yeah.
When we first started doing shows at Donut, some people found out that I used to be an actor.
Yeah.
And they were like, what is James? Does James even like cars? Is he just pretending? I wish in hindsight I would have made up
Yeah.
a
God,
thing.
that would be
Yeah.
so funny.
Like if I just talk like this all the time, and it's just this is everything you need to know to get up to speed on Miata.
I bet we would have 1 million more subscribers by now.
Probably, man. I really dropped the ball.
Oh, that one. I'm here, Nolan here, Nolan Sykes here with James Pumphrey
Welcome back to the Pass Gas Podcast.
and Mr. Joe Weber.
Thanks for having me.
This is part 2 of our two-part series on the Nissan GTR.
Get her done.
There's one.
Pass Gas Podcast. It's about cars, it's not about forts.
And that 20 is a minimum or maximum?
20's the goal.
Okay.
I mean, if we can do 60, it'll ruin the podcast.
Boy, okay. When we left off last week, the R32 GTR's reign as the king of Group A had ended with one of the most controversial finishes in Australian Touring Car Championship history. The following rule changes heavily favored home favorite manufacturers Holden and Ford over the Japanese Nissans, but instead of giving up completely, the GTR team regrouped and refocused.
Would you say that they were trying to get her done?
Oh, no. That's how we're going to do it? Okay.
No, I regret that.
The GTR team was now led by Kozo Watanabe. And
Is that any relation to Watanabe wheels?
no idea. So, sorry.
I'm going to look it up later.
And frankly, James, there wasn't a better man for the job. Remember that Japanese Grand Prix back in the 60s where, the whole reason this car exists?
I do.
Okay. Well, a young Kozo was at the very first one and saw the old Prince cars get defeated by the British and Italian race cars. It was almost by destiny that he lead the GTR team. The team wanted to address 2 main performance criteria. Number 1, understeer. That's when, you turn your wheel and
And you go straight.
Yeah, you don't turn as well as you think.
It's the opposite of drifting.
Exactly. And 2, stiffness. I really wish we had a soundboard,
Oh, yeah. 'cause
Boing.
boing.
In regards to the second
Or
part,
those spring things that are in the wall? That would be a great
best noise
sound.
ever.
Kanan. And through the magic of technology. Yeah.
Awesome. In regards to the second part, the stiffness, engineer and test driver Hiroyoshi Kato welded brace bars underneath the car while testing an R33 prototype at the Nürburgring to stiffen the car up. He's just like, this sucks.
It's time to get her done.
I'll add it.
That one was good.
The R33's wheelbase was 4 inches longer and an inch wider than the previous gen. The bodywork was much smoother too, looking downright slippery in comparison to the R32's boxy appearance. I mean, you look at them next to each other.
It's definitely a bigger car. I'd say that the R33, when I think of GTRs, obviously I think of R32, R33, R34, which we'll talk about later. The R33, I think, is a little bit of the black sheep of the family. It's like a true middle child.
Yeah, absolutely. When you said when I think of the GTR, I never think of the R33.
Yeah, although it's one of the coolest cars in the Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, and it's also one of the fastest GTRs that we'll get into that.
And they're legal to import to the United States this year.
Dude, that's awesome.
I know.
It turns out that this longer wheelbase was a great addition. The R33 was more stable at high speed, and the reworked aerodynamics reduced lift in the front by nearly half.
Whoa.
Which greatly increased the grip, which helped that understeer.
And you know when you, like, I've driven Jesse's car a couple times, and you drove your buddy's Audi recently?
Yeah, Audi, yeah.
And
S4.
like, you're like, yeah, all-wheel drive, great, it's great. But then when you drive it, you, like, get it.
It's the...
Because you get the oversteer from the rear wheels.
Yeah.
But then you feel this pull from the front,
It's
and
amazing.
it's so fun.
It's really fun.
The more I drive all-wheel cars, the more that I get to, like, it just becomes apparent that that's, like, the best.
It's ultimate.
It's the best way to power a car. The new GTR had a redesigned all-wheel drive system that could better split the torque between all four wheels, which solved the understeer problem as well. The rear-wheel steering system was also upgraded with electric servos instead of hydraulic, which could be adjusted on the fly faster and more accurately than the old hydraulic high-cast system. A lot of people think that the R33 is just a facelifted R32, but as we've learned,
Not the case.
not the case. Watanabe-san's team used the R32 GTR formula, but improved on it in every way. All said and done, the R33 was 20 seconds faster than the R32 around the Nürburgring, which is insane, at 7 minutes and 59 seconds, making it the first production car to officially break into the sevens.
That's like insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like, there's this scene in what's the Niki Lauda movie?
Rush.
Yeah, there's a scene in Rush where Niki Lauda's saying, like, he doesn't want to race, and he's like, I'm the only person in here that's gone around the Nürburgring in 7 minutes, and that's like in an F1 car.
Yeah.
And you know, now, like, in the 90s, we started to see big boxy cars that could theoretically fit 4 or 5 people in them going around in the same speed as a freaking F1 car.
Absolutely. It's pretty awesome. There were tons of special edition R33 GTRs, but not as many as there were special edition PT Cruisers.
Really?
I think so, actually. That was a joke, but I think it's true.
Yeah, was there a Flames package for the
Can you imagine?
Where's the Brian Setzer GTR? That's what I want to know. There is a super limited edition midnight purple color option, supposedly named for that infamous Midnight Club, which we talked about a few episodes. All right, that was a while ago
That
now.
was a long time ago.
Apparently, you know what? I'm not going to say who this was, but you know.
Apparently, a certain Nissan executive was a member of the club.
If you haven't listened to our Midnight Club episodes yet, they're pretty good. Go listen to those.
We're gonna get Such.
Then there was the Spec V, which offered even stiffer suspension and an active rear differential.
Get her done.
Oh, that locked under acceleration and opened up when off the gas, which made sharp turns a lot easier since the rear wheels weren't locked up. There's also the Le Mans, or LM, which had its all-wheel drive system removed and a more powerful 400 horsepower engine put in. It also has really sick aero. They only made 3 of these things, 2 race cars to compete in GT1 racing and 1 road car, which now lives at Nissan headquarters. If you guys haven't seen a GTR LM, you guys...
Is that like the goldish green?
I think it's
one?
the silver one. Oh, wait, it's an R33, so...
Whoa, that looks so
yeah.
cool.
Oh, yeah, it's so freaking sick.
Gosh dang, dude. Get her done.
Big thanks to our sponsor this week, Valvoline Oil. That's right. Valvoline is sponsoring us. Valvoline has been running the game now for over 150 years. You think I'm messing with you, man? I'm being serious. They've been around since 1866 and were the first to file a patent for motor oil. They are the original motor oil. That's right. Not only that, they made the first high mileage oil, the first race oil, and the first synthetic oil blend. Still think I'm messing with you? That's messed up, dude. I would never do that to you. All Valvoline oils exceed industry standards to provide the ultimate protection for every engine on the road. And that's why some of the best in the biz use Valvoline, like Mario Andretti and our good friend Chris Forsberg. That dude is hard on his engines, so you know he only uses the most durable of motor oils. Valvoline is the only motor oil with a dedicated engine lab where they're able to run specialized engine tests and standardized engine tests right in their own facility. So buy some freaking Valvoline, guys. Help us out. Support the brands that support us so we can keep doing the show. Thank you, Valvoline, so much for sponsoring Past Gas.
Confusingly, the next special edition was the Nissan LM Limited, which was not an LM. The LM Limited was built in celebration of Nissan entering the LM edition cars at Le Mans.
Why?
So they're not the same. They're not an LM car. They're just built.
They're LM
Hey,
edition.
we entered those LM cars. Let's build a car to celebrate those LM cars and then call them Nismo LM.
We should probably celebrate ourselves more.
Hey guys, so I know we're constantly trying to improve, but maybe sometimes we should take a little time and pat ourselves on the back for a job well done.
And then get back to work.
And then get back to work.
The LM Limited had special blue paint, a carbon rear spoiler, cooling ducts, and some commemorative decals. They also made some V-Spec LM Limiteds, so those were LM Limited cars with the V-Spec upgrades. But the coolest R33 of them all, boys, was the GTR 400R. R stood for racing. Instead of an RB26 like all the rest of the GTRs, this special edition had a custom RB bored and stroked out to make 400 horsepower. The 400R had a 0 to 60 time, Felipe, of 4 seconds, which, think about mid-90s car doing that. That's insane.
Yeah.
And a top speed of over 180 miles per hour.
Get her done.
And just to make it clear for our listeners, bored doesn't mean that they made a boring edition.
No, yeah, I think
make
that's
the
a common
cylinders.
misconception.
Yeah, a lot of people think that, oh, they bored it out. Oh, they made it more boring.
No,
That's
quite
not
the
the case.
opposite.
Yeah.
More often than not, boring a car out makes it less boring
Yeah.
and more fun.
Nissan only made, or they planned on making 100 of these 400Rs, but they only ended up making 44 of them. So if you can get your hands on one, dear listener, I suggest you do it. So yeah, like James, like you were saying, the R33 is a bit of a dark horse in the GTR line.
It's fine. I'm a middle child
Oh,
as well. So
Me too.
yeah.
Do you have two sisters? Mm-hmm. Me too.
What the we should work together. The middle child's always the funny one.
Yeah.
So is the R33 GTR the funniest of the R30?
funniest looking maybe.
Damn.
Damn.
Are you the old?
I'm the oldest. Yeah.
Yes.
And I have two sisters though, so like I can kind of.
We have two
What?
sisters
yeah.
too.
6 sisters together?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Way.
We just, for the listener, we just did a
A Ram Chargers.
6 sisters.
Dude, that's a sick name for like a metal band.
6 sisters.
6 sisters.
So
It's a dark horse.
yeah, it was like a bigger car. It wasn't as popular as the R32, but it's still a great car. But Kozo Watanabe, he heard people's criticism and heard they wanted more. So he's like, you know what? You want more? You're not satisfied with my freaking sick-ass car that I gave you guys? Well, I'll give you more.
And like Emerald Lagasse. Bam!
Yeah,
Get her done.
Bam! So that's what he'd do. He was going to give him more. The next GTR would be the culmination of everything they've learned since the R32, and it would be the perfect Skyline GTR. You know where we're going with this.
You guys, if you know anything about Skylines, then you know where we're going. If you don't know anything about Skylines, buckle up.
Buckle up. You're good to be bored.
At first, the team wanted a new engine to power the GTR, an aluminum block V6. But Nissan was going through a rough financial patch. Surprise.
As always.
Yeah. And they didn't have the money to develop a new engine, so they just used the RB26 DE double T again.
Nolan is working on an episode of his YouTube show. Joe actually wrote it, but in the 90s at this
Give the
time,
credit to Joe here.
Yeah, at this time, Nissan was losing about $1,000 on every car that they sold.
Just in the U.S.
In the
though.
U.S. I mean, that's still just a staggering amount of
It's
money.
a bad business model.
Yeah.
Horrible. Anyway, like the leap from the R32 to the R33, a major development, or a major improvement rather, for the R34 was the aerodynamics. This car wasn't sleek like the last car. The R34 was a blocky boy with angular cuts and aggressive features, kind of like a stealth bomber. Like when we did the first episode of Bumper to Bumper we did was No, that wasn't the first episode, was it?
Yeah, the first episode never aired.
That's right. And we're going to keep it a secret.
Yeah, never to be revealed.
So the second episode of Bumper to Bumper we filmed was the R34, and in that episode we talk a lot about the aero in the car because there's a lot of divots
much
in front of like wheel arches that kind of divert air away from
Like a golf ball?
Yes.
dimples on a golf ball. It creates low pressure systems, so it sucks air out of places.
So you're basically drafting for yourself.
It's just all like the car is optimized to get air around itself rather than punching through it. It's like get air out of my way and like make you better.
So you kind of are drafting yourself.
Whoa.
And it's crazy when you look at this car. If you're not familiar with it, go ahead and do a little Google. It is a big old square boy.
Yeah,
and the fact that it is so aerodynamic is very surprising because it looks like a Maxima.
Yeah. So yeah, small divots on the fenders, directed air around the front wheels, like James said, pulling warm air out of the engine bay and cool the brakes as much as 120 degrees.
Or 50 degrees Celsius for our international friends.
That's right.
If you're using the Queen's math.
That's right.
Get her done.
They say maths.
Things were a lot different under this new car too. Stiffness was increased by 56%, and torsional rigidity was increased by 100. Meaning,
what?
Yeah. So, like it was harder to twist it. You know.
Boing.
Boing. Meaning, the R34 felt super solid, super responsive on the road. Under the hood, the turbo got a new ball-bearing ceramic turbine, which decreased spool time and increased reliability. The R34's engine also had more aggressive camshafts for even
more power, baby.
Woo! Put that on a shirt. Oh wait, we did get one at donut.media.com.
Damn, that's organic.
I don't even know. I feel like our website changes like every 4 months.
It has not changed ever.
Donut.media.
You can go to donut.media or you can go to donutmedia.com.
All right. Well, great.
They both go the
We
same
did
place.
it. The new GTR was fitted with a 6-speed Getrag transmission. The all-wheel drive was better. The rear-wheel steering was better.
This is the car that when Gran Turismo 4 came out,
Oh, yeah.
there was the blue Calsonic one
Yeah.
in the game. And all of my friends were like, hey, that big boxy blue car is faster than all the other cars.
Yeah.
And we were like, what? Why?
Yeah,
Because it doesn't look fast.
I remember playing Gran Turismo 3 A spec for all my gamers out there. And there was that yellow Pennzoil GTR. And same thing. It's like, how is this thing so freaking good?
Yeah, so we're like fortunate enough, thank God, because people watch our videos and listen to our podcast, that we get to be around these cars that we grew up just loving. And to be in the presence of this R34, I think maybe the Supra is equal, but it just feels like a thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you used to do those like endurance races?
Yeah, I mean, I believe the Pennzoil car ran at Le Mans.
No, I mean you in A-Spec.
Oh, no, hell no. Those things take like hours.
I used to
did
do
them.
this.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I would just like not want to go to sleep and then do a 12-hour race. And I did like enough of those. I had like 120 hours in the game. And then my chip malfunctioned.
No.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
corrupt.
Nice. The R34 Special Editions added even more better stuff on top of that. There's the V-Spec, V-Spec N1, V-Spec 2, V-Spec 2 NER, V-Spec 2 N1, M-Spec, and N-Spec NER. Don't even get me started on them race cars either. The R34 was the distillation of everything that made a GTR a GTR. While there weren't any earth-shattering changes between the 32, 33, and 34, they used the same engine and basically the same all-wheel drive system. It was all the small tweaks and improvements made by the engineers on top of those fundamental elements that makes the cars so different from each other. Their dominance on the road and the track, as well as their wide presence in pop culture, made them icons around the world. Everybody loves or knows someone that loves these lovely cars.
Go call those people right now and tell them that you love them and thank you for loving the GTR.
Yeah, and then tell them to subscribe to our podcast.
Yeah, tell them that. So, Nolan, this is a very special car. How do you follow it?
Well, I'll tell you, boys. In 2001, Nissan unveiled the GTR concept. Unlike previous GTR models, though, this car would not be a souped-up Skyline, but its own model entirely. The design team for this concept was led by Hiroshi Hasagawa, who had worked on the Sylvia S13, the S14,
Oh, yeah.
and the R34.
Nice.
This GTR would be different, not just aimed at sports car superiority, but at the supercar hierarchy itself. Nissan was coming for the crown, baby. The concept's squarish shape and broad wheel arches were penned to look like the shoulders of a samurai. The taillights were unmistakably GTR, the iconic circles. And they're more like the R34 than, they're like R34 taillights.
All of them have the 2 circles. Though.
Yeah. And it had an open mouth in the front. The only major deviation was the headlights, which had a very modern and vertical look.
Very Z-like,
Yeah,
I'd say.
totally.
I think the GTR is a real... You look at it, and at first glance, you're like, this looks totally different than the other Skylines, because those are so, like, sedanish, and this one's a real fastback.
Yeah.
But then, like, you kind of blur your eyes, you look a little bit, and you're like, I see it. In the shoulders. Yeah.
So the new GTR, or R35, hit the market in 2007.
And got her done.
And 6 years after we saw the first concept, it was a supercar designed to be used anytime, anywhere by anyone. No longer.
Literally just like everybody up.
Yeah, because it was like a quarter the price of like Lamborghinis and Ferraris, and was faster by every metric.
And now there's so many cars that have launch control, but when this car debuted, it was like one of the first, I believe.
It was a really good one.
And it was great too. So it just hooked.
Yeah.
Got her done, dude.
The acceleration on these things still to this day is very neck cracking.
Okay.
Dude, the R35 GTR is like Arnold Schwarzenegger in True Lies, just snapping
Yeah.
necks.
We all have seen his shoulders before.
Yeah, he's got the shoulders of a samurai.
How did they never make a samurai movie with Arnold? That's like such a slam dunk.
It's such a slam dunk.
It'd be so good.
That would be the best movie ever, dude.
He gets shipped over to Japan in a crate, busts out of it.
I just want to see movies with buff guys, you know.
Yeah, dude.
That's just my thing. You know, like there's nothing weird about
Buff
that.
guy movies are the best.
Just like really sweaty and like just glistening.
I want to get a buff lawyer. Like, I don't care if he's good at law. I just want him to be like swole, like
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Intentionally have him carry like a really small briefcase.
yeah, just like slightly smaller though, so you don't like. You're like, is it smaller or is
Or
he
is it
just
really
bigger?
big?
There's like a protein bar in it.
Yeah, there's only protein and like in it, and he like he's like, sorry, I'm bulking up, so he's like just like eating steamed.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Yeah. I want him so big that his top button can't button, and that his tie is just like to his chest because his neck is so thick.
Does he have one of those like short sleeve suit jackets?
Well, yeah, it's like a tank top.
Yeah, one
suit
of
jacket.
those.
Just swole.
No longer was the GTR powered by the RB26. It was time for something different.
Something new.
Yeah, the VR38 DETT is an all-aluminum twin-turbocharged V6.
It's a great motor.
That's right. Every engine is assembled by hand in a clean room, and only the most experienced Nissan mechanics are allowed to work in this building. There's only 4 dudes that build these motors with 100 years of experience between them.
And the coolest part about it is that every single one of those dudes, or every single engine that comes out, is signed by the guy who makes it.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So shouts to solid Nolan.
You gonna do it? Tsunemi Oyama, Nobumitsu Gozu, almost had it. Uzumi Shioya, and Takumi Kurosawa.
Those dudes that Nolan just named make every GTR engine that has been sold. So
Yeah,
like every time you see a GTR on the street or on the internet, you know that one of those guys built the motor.
Yeah, they're responsible for creating car YouTube by powering every GTR that had some bikini babe trying to reach a $100 bill during a launch. So
These are the guys that get her done, basically.
damn it.
Basically, they do. They just get her done.
I'll count it. I'll allow it. The VR38 initially made 480 horsepower, which wasn't. I mean, it wasn't super powerful at the time because like cars like the Pagani Zonda and stuff were making like 700.
Yeah, but a Pagani Zonda is a $2 million car.
Exactly.
This thing, I think, was 60 when it came out.
No, I think it was like
80.
90. The VR was hooked up. The VR38 rather was hooked up to an updated version of the Atezza all-wheel drive that prioritized rear grip this time around. The combination of great power.
What do you mean by rear grip? So not sliding it out?
Yeah.
You had me until you got to the board out part.
The combination of awesome power and great all-wheel drive made the GTR one of the hardest launching cars in the world, achieving 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds.
That's fast as for back then.
Yeah, it was faster than all the expensive competition. And the GTR wasn't just good at straight line performance either. The new R35 maybe understeered a little more than the R34, but when hucked around turns, even the normiest of observers can see that the GTR was hooked in the corners.
It was getting her done.
Man.
Man. I love jokes that my friends hate.
Yeah, it's like soul-crushing jokes.
Just, God damn it, guys.
Stability was the name of the game with the R35. There's like these onboard sensors that are constantly monitoring what the car is doing, adjusting suspension like 1,000 times per second. Some people kind of say that it feels like the car is driving itself a little bit.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean,
everyone complains about driver assistance and stuff. I can use all the help I can get.
So Nissan's goal was to make a supercar that anybody could drive, and having a car that drives itself kind of achieved that. So well done, Nissan. Of course, there was some special editions and racing versions like the 2008 Nismo GT500, which was equipped with a V8 engine and manual transmission.
Oh, that's a getter done.
The car was so dominant that the Super GT League weighed the car down with a 100-kilogram ballast, and it still ended up winning the 2008 championship.
Damn.
It was the first car to achieve a championship with a weight penalty in 10 years. The last team to do that was the Pennzoil team in 1998, behind the wheel of a bright yellow R34 GTR.
Dang, dude, making Big Bro proud.
So yeah, the Nissan GTR, probably one of the most. I mean, come on, who doesn't love a GTR?
It's definitely a bucket list car for literally everyone I know.
I want R30, like it's Dodge Viper,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think R32 after that.
Really? You'd go R32?
I drove our friend Sean Lee's R32, and it just felt so right, And of course, I don't think any of us have driven an R34. Have we?
No, I haven't driven one. I've sat one.
No.
Yeah.
I really like that R31 wagon.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
so sick.
Yeah.
R31's a rear-wheel drive, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting.
That'd be cool to have one of those too.
Yeah, those are really cool. Like, so 80s.
Yeah, if like you're a real LA car clout god if you have one of those for sure.
For sure.
Really sold it with that yawn.
I'm on a lot of blood thinners and some beta blockers, so I'm literally operating on a lower heart rate.
Whoa.
It's pretty cool. I'm pretty chill these days.
Oh yeah.
You are. And your face isn't as red.
No, turns out if you've ever seen our videos, you might have noticed that I used to sweat a lot and my face was really red. Turns out it's because my blood was boiling. My insides are trying to become my outsides. So there's a lot of pressure in there.
Wow.
And now I feel like I look like I'm sick, but like I don't know. I just feel like
No, you look good.
I
At
feel
the
like an old man.
streamies, I was like, holy like you look so much better.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah. So if you for some reason don't watch our YouTube channel, check that out. We're on YouTube at Donut Media. Please give us a subscribe. You might like our videos.
If you like pictures of dudes hanging out around an office and a lot of times around cars, check us out on Instagram at Donut Media.
Yeah, follow Joe Weber at Dark Webinar on both Twitter and Instagram.
Follow Nolan on Twitter and Instagram at Nolan J Sykes, Sykes.
Follow James Pumphrey at James Pumphrey.
On both those places as well.
Yeah,
We did
Yeah.
a really good job that time.
that was fun.
Get her done. 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 Get her done.
Counts.
Thank you so much for listening and or watching. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
I love you.
I got a certificate from the city of Los Angeles for getting a hole-in-one.
What? You got a hole in one?
Yeah.
And they just
What?
send you a certificate?
Yeah. It's
That's
from
cool.
the Parks and Rec.
That's amazing.
It's pretty cool.
Wow.
Wow.
It was a par 3. It wasn't like
Well,
huge
yeah.
deal.
It is a huge
We weren't
deal.
assuming it was a part 4.